Namaste and welcome viewers to a brand new episode of Daily Mirror. It's me Ashish Parekh in yet another shocking death. Rohan Mirchandani, the co-founder of the popular Greek yogurt brand Epigamia, has passed away due to cardiac arrest. He was 42 years old. Industry leaders and peers have expressed shock and grief, while Edelweiss CEO Radhika Gupta has now emphasized the importance of managing stress and gratitude in a competitive world. With a sudden cardiac arrest, you only get a very small window to resuscitate a person. Within a few minutes, CPR needs to be administered and a defibrillator is also required while you wait for an ambulance. What's been increasingly seen in India is a rising rate of heart attacks in the youth, further signifying that it's not just an issue that affects the elderly. In fact, we'll be discussing this in detail. Joining us right now is India's top cardiologist, Chairman and Managing Director of Medanta Hospital, Dr Naresh Trehan. Dr Trehan ji, appreciate joining us on the broadcast here. Let's get straight to the heart of the matter, quite literally. We've seen the rise in heart attacks and cardiac arrests in India, and of course, in most cases, this usually occurs in men at an earlier age and without prior warning. Can you help us understand what's going on?
Good evening, and thank you for having me on the show. But see, what you are right, that there is a lot of concern in the medical community also, because we are seeing a rising trend of heart disease, especially in the younger generation now. So the point basically is, what are the reasons that this is happening? And there are many contributing factors. So one is basically that there is stress everywhere. In this competitive world, people are actually putting themselves out 24/7 chasing success. And what has happened is that when you don't get enough rest, enough sleep, or enough downtime, your blood pressure also goes up. When your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate also goes up. So there are many, many reasons why heart attacks will occur in states like that. Even take the example of over-exercising. So if we know that there is an underlying heart disease at an early age, and that's why we say people who are going to exercise or are going to lead a stressful life, or you know what, you get a good example of it is like life has become like a treadmill 24/7. And then in addition to that, there is pollution.
Absolutely.
There is tobacco use, there are alcohol use. So there are many, many things that are contributing to this. But the fundamental reason which remains that sudden cardiac death usually is, more than 80% of the time, is from a ruptured plaque. That means deposit of fat inside the arteries of the heart. When it suddenly ruptures, whatever the trigger may be, it will lead to a massive heart attack. And that is important to know, that do you have a propensity for heart disease? Today, the science has reached a stage where we can actually predict with great amount of accuracy that who are the people who are at higher risk of heart disease, higher risk of sudden death, by doing the three things that are now become an algorithm for an individual. So the first thing is that you can do genomic sequencing, and genomic sequencing will tell you, because today there are genes present in your genome sequence which will warn you that you have a propensity for heart disease. Doesn't mean that you're going to get it, but you have propensity for it. That means that you become more careful in actually getting regular checkups, not abusing yourself to the level where, and ignoring also any early symptoms that you may be getting, because when you're young and you feel some certain shortness of breath or even chest pain, then you actually ignore it because you're young. You think, I'm not going to get it. But then those are the people who are at a higher risk. Okay, so now we have a scenario that every month or two, a young person who is apparently healthy becomes a victim to a massive heart attack and unfortunately passes away. This phenomena has become incremental over the period of time. In the initial stages, we did see an uptick after COVID, because COVID was also creating inflammation in the heart. But Now we are far away from that. And now we know that there are other reasons why you can get sudden heart attacks. And we now have a methodology to say, today, if you are parents or have either heart disease or diabetes, then by the age of 25, one should get their first checkup to make sure that they are not getting the diabetes and heart disease early signs of it. If you don't have any history of heart disease or diabetes in your family, then by the age of 30, everyone should have a complete checkup to tell you whether you have tendency for high blood pressure, whether you have high cholesterol, whether you have other signs in your cardiogram which show that there are irregular activity going on which can make you vulnerable to a sudden heart attack. So there are many ways of preventing it. But you have to be careful in today's environment that you don't take on heavy exercise, don't take on too stressful a job without being checked out. You will be surprised. We did a checkup on 10,000 executives. 26% of them had high blood pressure, which they were not aware of. So you know that it's a silent disease, and it leads to frequently to complications like kidney failure, death, strokes. So these are early signs which we can pick up, which can prevent a death or a bad outcome in the middle of your life. So that's where it's at right now.
Absolutely. So multiple